like this. So.
Hello, welcome to Jordan's Journal. I'm Representative Joe Jordan, and today I have my special guest, Finance Chair Marcus Oshiro, who represents Owahiwa. He's also my chair. So good afternoon, welcome.
Oh, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, Joe.
Yeah, I get a show at different times. I didn't think about that, yes. Well, we're here to talk about this past session, how it wrapped up, what came out in the budget process. You know, you're one of our leaders in handling the budget with finance, and also to promote the upcoming meeting that you're going to be joining me at in Waianae. And we're going to be having a legislative town hall meeting again in June, on June 13th, which is a Wednesday, from 7 to 8:30 at Waianae District Park, the multipurpose room. So I'm really glad that you're going to be coming and joining us again. My community really likes you.
Well, thanks a lot for inviting me to your program and also to your community meeting. I enjoy going out to community meetings because you have a chance to listen to your constituents,
Yes.
you know, learn from them, at the same time give them additional insight to what happens in the at the legislature. Mm-hmm. And all the good work that you did. I think I like to go out there and tell the people of Waianae how fortunate they are to have someone like you, Joe, because as a freshman you came on. You made a really good impression with me and many of your colleagues, both on the Finance Committee and on the subject matter committees. By the way you handled yourself, the type of questions you asked, the thoughtfulness of your discussions, and I think your ability to sort through the chaff and the grain and really get down to the essential issues. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that at Finance because you listen very well and speak little, but when you do ask questions, they are quite insightful and thoughtful, and I know that the members appreciate it. So, good to have you aboard.
Thank you, thank you. I truly enjoy finance, and even though our hours go to the wee morning, it's exciting. I think that's when you create the best thought process, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, we worked very hard this year. We ended the budget on time in a balanced budget with a good surplus cash carryover balance for the current fiscal year, next fiscal year. 13 and 14. So we're in a very positive mode right now of an expanding economy. Unlike in past years where we had negative fund balances with the Abercrombie administration, starting with last year's budget and financial plan, ending up in the positive. So this year, which ends June 30th, I think we're going to be ending in about $115 million in the positive. The same forecast for next year, maybe closer to 200 million, and the third year out, about 200-something million positive. So it looks really good. Yeah. The current council projections are for 12% for this current fiscal year, June 30th. I think we're going to hit it.
Oh.
I think the tax dollars, and you'll show a slide later on that the GET has been up, hotel room tax is up, and personal income tax is up. So we're doing pretty good right now.
That sounds pretty good. I mean, that sounds for a healthy state.
It's very positive. You know, having done this since 2007, when I can recall, we had a $730 million surplus, and then 2008, a $330 million surplus, and in 2009, going into the Great Recession, facing a $2.3 billion shortfall in 2009. In 2010, it was a $1.2 billion shortfall. 2011, about $750 million. To have a positive balance right now, and you can see it in the budget worksheet itself. It's good for all of us because now we can go and revitalize and reprioritize and reprogram some of the monies back into these services and programs that in past years have been cut because of the fiscal constraints. Yeah. And the orders of layoffs and the policies of furlough. We can actually restore government services for the people of the state and your constituents where you need to provide those important services.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to see, a lot more construction going on because, the government took that lead in starting to say, hey, let's get it out and get people moving and working, right? Yeah,
we're in a real good position, and I think this year we also added additional positions for Department of Health, water permit experts to expedite permitting in the area of the Department of Transportation for highway services, airports, harbors, all the key components of economic activity of goods going out of Hawaii as goods and services and coming back into Hawaii.
Yeah.
I think we've done that. So there's a lot of good positive elements of the budget that we can talk about more at your Waianae meeting.
Yeah, and you know, and now getting some of those positions funded, so getting people and services coming back up to a level that people were accustomed to prior to the furloughs and the cutbacks.
Yeah, and I think you begin to see that. I think you have additional staffing there at the counters when you go in there for permit requests, when you go and fill out a form to get qualified for food stamps or MedQuest services. I think you're going to see that. So people will appreciate the restoration of services that they may have missed out over the last several years. So we're in a real good place right now. The economy is very positive right now. Tourists are visiting us. We have a good cash carryover balance going out. And I think our unemployment has been dropping over the last several years from a 9%, maybe we're down below 4% right now, which is really, really good for our economic forecast right now.
So like this year's budget, it was a lot different than last year.
It was a lot different, you know, notwithstanding the fact that we knew we were on a positive, expanding economy. I think having that idea or that ability to have additional monies to expend or restore in programs and services got a lot more people interested in the legislative process. And I think that includes not-for-profits, non-government organizations, but also on the House and Senate members, you know, hearing from the constituents to make sure that you go and weigh in on the decisions that they have to make. I think that what maybe brought some kind of contentiousness to the process. Again, the past several years we've been cutting.
Yes.
No one wants to go and cut services. They rather leave it alone to the finance committee members. But when you start to restore services or reprioritize funding for some of these services, you have a lot more people involved in the process. So the kitchen got very crowded, a lot of cooks, and it got very hot in there because you know there were so many things going on in the stove and the oven and all the different burners going at the same time. But the good news is that we ended on time, a positive cash balance. And I think the needs of people have been met. For example, we're able to restore about 29 positions in the Department of Agriculture.
Oh, those are very
key
important.
positions.
Yes.
For the environmental protection services that they do to make sure that alien invasive species stay out, to make sure that our coffee crop is protected, our papaya crops are protected, our vegetable crops are protected. We restored those positions with the increase in tax revenues, both for Oahu and the neighbor islands. So that was a big plus there, you know. So.
That's huge. You know, and then I guess there was, you know, like even with the administration and the Department of Land and Natural Resources with the watershed programs. I mean, everybody was coming to the table and saying, hey, we're doing healthier and we want to start doing some of these visionary projects, Yeah,
you know, and to the governor's credit, you know, his vision to protect the watershed is one that's going to be part of his legacy. I think it's a legacy type of project. And he got the support and the buy-in of the legislature. So we put aside $5 million. $5 million showing a strong commitment to his program, his vision of protecting our watersheds, which are key and essential to life in Hawaii. So, you know, kudos must be given to the governor's staff, Kate Stanley, and then former Majority Leader, now Deputy Chief of Staff, Blake Oshiro, for their leadership in working with the House and Senate members in getting us to support initiatives like that. The governor also got his initiative of early childhood education supported and approved, so that there's now an administrator there and a focus and interest on early education investment to come back in and look at how we can advantage early education or early exposure to education for our younger families and their children. That's another big initiative. He also was able to look at being tough on crime, but also being smart on crime by the Justice Reinvestment initiatives that really are data-driven by such national leaders like the Pew Center Trust, which is data-driven, which has been used in other states like Texas, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, where you have a better way of managing your incarcerated population, so that you get the treatment that's necessary to make sure that they don't recidivize, and at the same time ensure that your community is protected by having enough counselors and service providers and support staff for your victims of crime. So, again, another example of collaborating with the legislature, working with the legislature, and having that kind of dialogue makes all the difference in the world.
It really does. I mean, I clearly, from last year to this year, you saw that dialogue between the administration and the departments and the House and the Senate, and you saw different things coming out this year, and it was very impressive to see, how everybody kind of came to some same page resolutions.
Yeah, and really, again, it's you got to give credit where credit is due. And I think the governor invested in making these personnel changes. He was criticized to some degree, but at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. And the work product of the efforts between the House and Senate and the governor came to the forefront. I also like to think that there's some more work that we need to do. I think we need to go back in next year and look at how we can go and make sure we can right-size some of the government services we have there right now. I think I was criticized when I was reluctant to automatically replenish some of the lost funding or lost personnel counts over the last several years. But for me, I wanted to give the department further time to reevaluate and reprioritize where the personnel are right now, what kind of work they're doing, and the resources that they have available currently to make sure we get the most bang for our buck. But I think that's one of the things that's an ongoing process. Again, the governor's initiative of bringing in someone like Sunny Baguilia, who's the Chief Information Officer, is going to take Hawaii down the road again. Another legacy project of the governor that's going to bring us into the 21st century of using the technology we have available, the data systems we have available, even the cloud that we have available, to connect everybody up. The departments up and the different accounting systems up, so we know where our money is being expended, and really evaluation of, again, the return on our investment.
So I mean, even though you'd be criticized for something like that, but it's more of a thoughtful process. Maybe we don't need to reshore up those vacant positions, because the Chief Information Officer will come in, and with new technology, we can get a lot more done with less. And that's what everybody says, be more efficient government. And I think it takes time to do that. You just can't do it all in 1 year. You have to watch all these pieces come into place.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I think the plan right now is over a 10-year period, but I think in July he's going to be submitting to the legislature a preliminary report of some suggestions of where they're going to go. So we're working hand in glove with the administration to move this initiative forward. So again, it's how you invest your money and the return on your investment in productivity and of service to your constituents.
Well, I know, and even looking forward at some of our unfunded liabilities. I mean, we did make a couple efforts towards prospective, and where we're going with that. But again, that takes time too, right?
It does take time. I think, last year in 2011, Joe, the legislature made a big change to the employee retirement system to honor the commitment we have to our current workers, to honor our commitment to the current retirements who are retired, and relying upon the ERS to go and cover their pension obligations and their needs. So we made some big changes. So that July 1, 2012, this year, you have a new set of benefits, pension benefits for new hires. And that's fair, because you're coming in eyes wide open with a new benefits package, maybe not as rich as the previous benefits package, but nonetheless very substantial compared to what the private sector is offering. And there's a security of knowing that your government will be there to adequately fund these pension benefits. So you have that. This year we also addressed an issue, a thorny issue of whether or not overtime should be calculated into someone's average final compensation. It's been around, and a tough issue, politically charged issue from back in the 70s and 80s. I recall discussing this when I first got into '94. We finally passed a measure this year that, again, going forward as a new employee, eyes wide open, your overtime will not be calculated in part of your average final compensation. And that makes sense, because overtime pay is already a larger pay per hour than your current base pay. So we did that. On the other side, we wanted to make sure that managers would manage their staffing, would manage their hourly deployment of their personnel by having those managers that allow for overtime to pay for those costs.
Oh, yeah.
So that if there's an administrator at the hospital who's negligent and not staffing correctly and understaffing purposely or what have you, they pay the cost.
Yeah.
Or an emergency medical technician running an ambulance service, or running even law enforcement services. If they don't watch the bottom line and the deployment and rotation of their personnel, then they would absorb their cost. So that government body,
That's right.
the counties would pay for the cost. So we've done a lot to address some of those long-term issues. The one that we failed, and I think, and I fault myself for this, I was unable to get my counterpart or the leadership on the Senate side to look at seriously pre-funding some of the outstanding obligations we have for our health fund. People are living longer today, they're living hopefully healthier lives today, but there's this unfunded liability of $14 billion that we need to address. And I think based upon the actual reports, a minimum of about $500 million, a minimum of $500 million should be set aside to take care of the annual retirement costs for our retirees and our current incumbent employees. I tried to get, we tried to get 50 million, just 10% to show good faith and let the bond rating agencies know that we're serious about it, but I couldn't get that. But we'll look at that again next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, I guess, it's something that you really, like you said, when you start bringing the different components together and everybody starts getting educated on the whole issue, then I think those become a little bit easier for people to absorb and support. I guess when people only know a little bit about it, it's kind of way out of their realm at the time.
Yeah. But I think with your assistance again and going out to the community, this allows us to expose to people some of these longer term issues that we have to face. And I think it bodes well for the process.
Yeah. And I really enjoy and really appreciate your thought process, because you look at the long range. You don't look at just what's happening today. You look at where we're going to be in the next 5, 10, and even further down. Who's going to replace us, and what do they have to take on for these liabilities? And I truly appreciate that. That's taking an actual business plan and running a government by that. And we should really think about that, not just think, well, we're safe this year and we'll worry about next year. I mean, that's not conducive. It doesn't hold much weight. And I think a lot of people learn quick and hard over these last few years. And with services. So, going forward, if the more people that we can kind of educate on this, I think it becomes a little bit smoother to ride.
Yeah, and I think we are. I think with the freshman class you're a part of, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and then super seniors like myself, I think we're well aware. So I look forward to receiving the report next year from Budget and Finance, which are going to articulate some specific things you might want to do. So the next legislature, the 27th legislature, will have a chance to look at that. But I think there's no denying that we have to do something, and that doing nothing is not an option. So I think that's the good news. In about 8 months, we'll be back to wrestle with these tough issues.
And it's, and then over time, it's just, educating ourselves to be more in tune to what's going on, and others that come along to educate them and saying, hey, we have to be more mindful of how we're spending or how we're saving, and it's all dependent upon our credit rating. It's all dependent on how our divisions operate here and where we move forward with things. And that's why I truly appreciate, you educating us as, your committee and being very forthcoming with a lot of information so we can make the solid decisions. And that's how we're going to be very informative, going back to our community and explaining when they say, well, how come you didn't do this, or how come you didn't do that, or why did you do it this way? And then, once you start explaining that there's a dynamic, there's two different bodies, those two different bodies come together, meaning the House and the Senate, and they have to agree upon the final things that go into a specific budget. And sometimes that can be very challenging at times.
Yeah, it can be. You start off at different positions. They wanted to expand the authorization of general obligation bond encumbrances or obligations for more capital improvement projects for more of the items, University of Hawaii, community colleges, schools, hospitals, etc. But my concern, I think the Speaker agreed with me on this, is that we already have billions and billions of dollars already on the books ready to expend. Although interest might be cheap, money might be cheap right now, there's no need for you to go and encumber additional debt unless you needed to. So I think that kind of constrained us. We did meet the Senate halfway, or more than halfway.
Yeah, more than halfway.
By going up a little bit more, than we wanted to. But I think both of us agreed that in areas of capital improvement projects for our schools, our hospitals, some of our important road highway features, things that deal with health and safety of our community took priority. So I think that's where we found the common ground. And I think that's part of the process, And I owe kudos to my counterpart, Senator David Ige. I think he described it as iron sharpening iron. Both of us, pretty tough negotiators. But I think at the end of the day, it's a joint project. It's a conference draft worked out by the House and Senate leaders and conferees that we can be proud of. And there's a lot of good in there for our constituents.
Yeah, there really is a lot of good in there. And I think, the common person out there, constituents usually are like, well, fix the pothole, or how come I've got a bumpy road again? And usually we're addressing those type of things. And, when are you cutting the trees? And that's what we saw. We saw those common core services get cut back to where it was just bones were left. And we're going to slowly start seeing that change now. And, that will smooth out, and you'll see other things that are going to be more issued with, So, and it's just, again, about how you educate everybody to become part of the process. And,
well, it's programs like this, Joe, that really does. I got to learn how to do this thing. This is really good stuff now, because it's broadcast once, twice, different times. It can be put into different kind of social media, but people learn about it, or at least become sensitized to it. I think I might want to mention that there's things that went under the radar that common media didn't pick up. I mean, the fact that coming in, we addressed the unemployment insurance issues for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, all businesses in Hawaii. Over $60 million will be saved by these businesses over the next year because of what we did expeditiously in the beginning of the session. We also addressed the closing of Hawaii Medical Center East, where you had the transplant services on kidneys. Otherwise, our family and our patients would have to go to the mainland to get treatment. Extraordinarily costly, being away from your family and friends, support group. But the legislature focused in and resolved that issue, so that we have a program right now with the Queen's Hospital right now, and that you can have kidney transplants here today. So there is a way of us focusing and addressing the immediate needs right now, at the same time looking longer term concerns.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there was a lot of things, and that's what you see challenging, because there's things that we do in here that really don't get out in the general stream, and then when you tell people, oh, really, you guys did that? And you're like, yeah, those were important issues, but it was more important for you to watch them saying we're not going to finish on time. It's kind of weird, this balancing act that even, the outside media poses for us, and it's kind of challenging at times.
No, I think it is. I think the more we can use alternative media, like even Olelo, community television is important. So social media out there is important, because the commercial media has a business to run. At the end of the day, and they can only cover so much column inch of news reporting or broadcast reporting. But it's up to us to get out there in our communities and have these forums that you're so good at having, and inviting the community in to ask those questions. So again, I look forward to getting out to Waianae.
We're going to be back out in Waianae on June 13th, and I really appreciate you coming out. I mean, they really, I don't know how many compliments I got after last year's meeting with you, and everybody was like, well, that's the first time we've seen that, and we're so happy that they can, actually talk to you and ask you questions and just hear the information. And they were really, really thrilled. They're like, are you coming back again? It's like, sure, we'll come back again. And bring your tough questions, or ask us why, or give us, some what would you like to see next year? That kind of stuff. And, obviously you always get the jack up the GE kind of thing, but I think it's great. So we'll be back at it again on June 13th, Wednesday, from 7 to 8:30 at the Waianae District Park, the multi-purpose room, which is a beautiful place. It's really nice. Well, be able to see the sunset, because it's going to be summer.
That's right. Beautiful sunset.
It'll be a beautiful sunset. So, you know, I really appreciate it, and you know, even use the medium, which is Olelo. People appreciate, you know, watching it, and just like when you did PBS Insights, you know, I even watched that. I mean, the programs that they put out. In fact, they just had one with the Director of Human Services, and they were talking about the Micronesians and some of the causes or effects. I mean, it's really, I mean, when you get these different mainstream medias promoting, and you see a different side of the story, and I'm seeing people now become engaged, which is nice. I think it's appreciative of us.
Yes, well, it's all about building community, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and we're just blessed and fortunate to have the opportunity to serve in this capacity, you know, of kind of networking different people in our community. You do it so well. But Joe, you gotta go and make sure you tell people about the success you had in getting some money set aside for the study for Makah. I think that's really important. Yeah. You know, I think you know, you kind of focus in on those issues. And making sure that your bridges will be attended to in one of the top 11 bridges, right?
I have 3 of the top 11 bridges, yes.
To be addressed, because they connect people, and they connect people to the jobs and to the schools and to each other. So I think that's important. Yeah.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you. We're wrapping this up now. I appreciate. Thank you very much, Chair. As always, I enjoy you. I look forward to seeing everybody at our town hall meeting, the legislative town hall meeting on June 13th, Wednesday, at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Waianae District Park, multi-purpose room. So hui hou for now, and thank you again for joining me, Chair.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.